Ham Navo, Haven Bay in the old tongue, Stromness as it's now known. For centuries, Orcadians have sailed from here to the far corners of the globe. Stromness is still the home port for some ships. Our story is with one of them, a coaster, the Elwick Bay, here leaving CM Harbour in the north of England with 300 tons of Durham coal in her holds. Destination Orkney. On the bridge, her owner-master, Captain Bill Dennison.
I come from the island of Shanday, and the bay there is Elwick Bay. The first ship I had was called the Shanday, and she was too small, so when I bought another one, I called it Elwick Bay. I'd already heard about this ship from a pilot in the Upper Mersey, funnily enough, and he'd been skipper of this ship, and he said she was, you know, in very good nick. So I chased her up, and I actually bought the ship in Penzance. It's an awful long way from Orkney. When I bought this ship, there were about 26 coasters running to north of Scotland, you know, the Murray Firth, Peterhead, Buckie, Wick, Scrabston, and the Orkney Islands. And slowly, and little by little, they've died away. And then there was a sudden crunch about 5 years ago, and now there's only 4 left. I managed to survive simply by doing most of the work, keeping all the key jobs in the family, and not paying them any wages. He was Mama sitting at home in a 3-bedroomed house with absolutely nobody to speak to, nothing except the office work to do. And she was going slowly round the bend. It was very much better if she came with us.
I had been in the office, you see, running it from the office side, purely as an amateur, I might say. And I either had to become really good at it or give it up. So I gave it up. And my husband said to me, well, you can get a job ashore, or you can come on board and cook and clean, lie around generally. So I thought, oh yes, nice, easy job, company anyway. And I came on board. I must have been out of my cotton-picking little mind.
Sylvia Dennison is now number R878888 in the Board of Trade's Seaman's record. Her home, 120 feet long and floating. Her kitchen, a galley, and her duties, ship's cook to a crew of 4 men and 3 stowaways smuggled aboard accidentally by the guard dog Samantha.
Come on, then.
She was properly mated once. She went away for one of these weekends in Stockton-on-Tees. In due course, she had pups, all of which were very, very highly pedigreed. And I'm afraid this time round, we went adrift in a shop in Seaham. But they're beautiful puppies, and they're probably better puppies than the purebred ones, but they ain't anything. They're just, we don't call them mongrels, they're what you call a first cross.
Farne Island on the port bow. The captain's on the bridge, and the appetizing aroma of Sunday lunch cooking wafts up from the galley. But it isn't the ship's cook at work.
I found when I first came that I was pretty tired, you know, after being alone and just boiling the odd egg and making a slice of toast. Suddenly I got the idea that why not take Sunday off? Most people have one day off. Also, I think it's very, very good for young boys to learn to cook. They make excellent husbands. I do my best to train them that way. So the boys do the cooking on the Sunday, and all the dishes. I don't touch food, and I don't touch a dish.
So, as Alan Morrison takes his turn at preparing the Sunday meal, the Elwick Bay ploughs her way home, north to the Orkney Islands.
Elwick Bay, are you getting me okay, over?
Hello, Elwick Bay. Yes, I'm getting you lovely, Bill. Loud and clear. Over.
Hello, Johnny. That's fine. Well, I'm just ringing up tonight to give you plenty of warning. We'll be up in Stronsay about the same time as last time. Around about tea time tomorrow. Over.
Tea? Yes, hello, Bill. Hello, Elwick Bay. Got you lovely and clear again. So you'll be here about tea time tomorrow, Bill. And I think it'll only be a matter of 2 hours work, won't it? Over.
Hello, Johnny. Yes, that's right. We're about 60 tons for you.
That'll be fine. I'll pass the word over the shore. Bye-bye and good night to you all. Good night.
After 36 hours of sailing through the North Sea, unloading begins at the pier of Whitehall in Stronsay.
There are 2 small islands that we have to go to, and they have no way bridges. These 2 islands in themselves can't take a full cargo, so we go to Stronsay first. Stronsay, of course, being a bigger island, has a way bridge. We weighed out so much of the cargo and leave the exact quantity on board for the other 2 islands. I'm tied to this size of ship because it is the biggest that can be used in Orkney. Nobody can afford to take a bigger ship. They have to buy the coal and they have to sell it. If they buy too much coal, it takes them longer to sell it. They're lying out of their money and they can't get it in fast enough. So that my problem was to get the right size of ship and try and find a formula by which it would work.
Time and tide won't wait, so at 2:30 in the morning, the Elwick Bay leaves Stronsay, 60 tons lighter, to catch the high tide at Papay, the furthest northwest island of Orkney. A small island without a weighbridge. The coal is laboriously measured out in tubs, the lifting made a lot easier by the unusual addition to the ship of a crane, the filling done by manpower.
The crane I bought entirely on faith, hope and charity about a year and a half after I bought the ship. It's worked very, very well now for about 12 years. It doesn't owe me a thing, and Orkney owes it a lot. Without that crane and the Elwick Bay, Orkney would be in great difficulties because it doesn't require men. The whole agricultural setup in the islands is based on using less and less people. And so there's no vast reserve of farm servants come down and dig coal. Now everything is automated. There's more ground being cultivated in Orkney now than there was 20 years ago. But it's been doing properly with machinery. And part of the machinery is our crane.
Between tides, 106 tons of coal must be unloaded. So, lift and fill, lift and fill. Enough to keep warm for another year the farms and crofts of Papay. But daily routines aboard must continue, and down below, the ship's cook carries on with her work.
I used to hate cooking. You see, I thought it was an absolute waste of time. Spent hours slaving over a hot stove. The men would come in from outside, sit down, spread this luscious feast in front of them. 10 minutes later, you're left with a pile of filthy dishes and the whole lot to think out again for the next meal. And I thought it was one of the most boring jobs that had ever been invented. But on board the ship changed my mind entirely because you see the food actually working. I mean, you see the men going out there and slaving their guts out in the holds and working hard under sometimes extremely cold conditions and bad weather. And then they come in and they appreciate it so much, a large hot meal, especially with something a little fancy. Some whipped cream on top of a trifle, croutons and soup and things. I would love to have Fanny Craddock or someone on board for a trip. The first thing that hit me with a hideous crunch when I first came on board was the fact if we ran out of anything, I couldn't nip ashore and there was no shop next door. I was stuck. We starved until I got into the way of catering for 4 people, you see, having lived alone for so long. And it's very difficult, half a pound of mince and 2 chops. It's a vastly different thing from getting a 4 or 5 pound roast. Beef, well, when I say beef, I mean meat, is wonderful in Orkney.
bread is good in certain places. When we get down to Lincolnshire, vegetables are wonderful. I mean, we really have the whole country at our disposal. And with my wife on board, doing a really intelligent catering, we just live off the fat of the land, and no kidding. I would say, since my wife came on board, we've never been 1 month without an undergraduate on board as an ordinary seaman. It really is. It's quite remarkable. Colin Morrison comes from Aberdeen. He was with us last summer. He's just between school and university, and he doesn't really know what he wants to do, but it gives him a wonderful opportunity of seeing the world, as far as the North Sea is concerned anyway, and making up their own minds what they're going to do. They see a little bit of commerce, a little bit of the rough stuff, and they'll be better citizens after it. Peter Tate, well, he is the son of one of the biggest merchants in Orkney, and he has been a year at university, but he's gaining an awful lot of knowledge of what is happening in the islands, and when he eventually goes into his father's business, it'll be of immense value to him. I think it's the finest thing that's ever happened.
I think they're really very good. They don't swear very much. They don't use very bad language compared to what I hear on the streets anyway. They don't get so drunk. Well, sometimes they don't get so drunk. And they're awfully good to me. They are, really. They're very sweet. I'm positively costed on board.
Chores done, cargo unloaded, and off to the next island call, with perhaps a little time to think about other things.
I'm a painter to trade, actually. Neither an office worker nor a ship's cook. And I like painting. It's not pleasant. I can never get down on canvas what I see in my mind's eye. It never comes out so well. I don't know why. Just not good enough, I guess. I like painting people. I'm not much good at landscape. Trees look like carrots or something. But people, I like painting faces. I find them fascinating. I have that painting that I did of Paul Russell's yard. I finished about 1:30 in the morning. Sort of crawled into my bunk, exhausted. No idea whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. But I like it now.
North Ronaldsay, the last island call on this trip. Early enough to tie up alongside and give the crew an opportunity to sleep a full night's sleep, a rare thing aboard a coaster. When Bill Dennison, for better or worse, took his wife Sylvia aboard as cook, there was a certain amount of difficulty about accommodation. It's against Board of Trade regulations for a rating to sleep with the master. When it was discovered the cook was sleeping with the captain aboard the Elwick Bay, signals flew, and only naval ingenuity with a slightly embarrassed Nelson eye enabled husband and wife to enjoy a good night's sleep together occasionally.
We had an absolutely hideous night alongside, ranging, and we had to keep watches all night. Next morning, the weather was beautiful, and we got rid of the rest of it. And the same manner, they count up the tubs, and off it went. It is very, very slow by comparison for what we can do with a grab. If we can discharge entirely with a grab, we can put the whole 300 tons out in about 8 hours. This way, of course, it took us 2.5 days. So it costs a little bit more to somebody.
Trouser suits aren't Mama's idea of nautical gear. She rarely wears slacks, finding dresses more comfortable and easier to clean. She can buy clothes anytime, and she has a wide selection of tomes to choose from. But whenever she buys one garment, an old one must go out. One of the skipper's rules which could be adopted by many a family ashore.
Oh, it's good to get out of the ship sometimes, stretch your legs, take the bounce out of Samantha. This is one of the nicest islands we come to. It's pity we only come here once a year, but the beaches are lovely. The people are awfully nice. The seals are fascinating. Funny to see the sheep wandering around too. The little lambs at this time of year.
One of the more unusual features about this island, you can see, is the wall that runs right round it. The human beings are on the inside and sheep are on the outside. And in an island like this, where the men shave every Saturday, whether they need it or not, some degree of segregation is obviously necessary for identification purposes. The North Ronaldsay sheep are very, very agile little animals. They're just like baboons. They can climb. And the one thing that you want to avoid if you're a shipmaster is trying to take a deck cargo off them, because they'll climb bulwarks. And if one goes, they're still sheep. The whole bloody lot go. Then you're faced in the middle of the North Atlantic with a little grey-brown stream of sheep pouring over your rail into the sea, and you've got to pick them up again.
North Ronaldsay sheep are supposed to be the first to come to the west from the east, and the breed has remained practically the same for centuries. Fed on seaweed, the mutton is nourishing and has a strong, distinctive flavour. Unusual sheep on an unusual island. Today warm and calm, but in winter often storm-bound, forcing the sheep to shelter and ships too. Is Sylvia Dennison ever afraid at sea?
Well, of course I'm frightened at times. I'm terrified. I'm not a fool. It can be. I've been through a hurricane at one time, and it was absolutely terrifying. The thing that astonishes you is the noise, the crashing, scream of the propeller as she comes out of the sea, crash then when she hits the water, and everything thrums gently and vibrates up and down. Engine noises, racing ahead sometimes, and then even more hideous, dead silence when they turn off the engine and let her, get her head to the sea and sort of find her own way through the next mountain of sea. It is frightening, very frightening. But when you see her up in the dry dock with this great flat bottom, you realize the strength of steel. It's very reassuring. Another thing that's very reassuring is there's an awful lot of old sailors around.
A walk in the sun and a time to think for a woman in a world of men. But it's a world in which her influence is obvious. The ship is her home, and you behave nicely in a home. It doesn't matter whether it's in Antwerp, Rotterdam, or Turku. With Mama on board, it's still a home. The nearest land east is Spitsbergen, north is Iceland, but the sea is clear and inviting for a dip, and it's just the thing for cooling off as the boat leaves for Kirkwall.
We do somewhere around about 60 voyages a year, 60, 70. That's a little bit better than one a week. Funnily enough, we're doing better now than we've ever done. But we've got modern machinery. The ship is 42 years old. That's twice the natural age of a ship. But nobody can poke a hole now. The Board of Trade come on board. They say, well, if you never paint it again, it should last you your lifetime. So I'm quite happy. We've got modern machinery. New wine in an old bottle maybe, but it's still good.
We're just coming through Calf Sound now. It's a geological anomaly. There should be grey windstone on one side and red sandstone on the other. I don't think anybody can account for it. But the red sandstone, it's believed that most of Kirkwall, St Magnus Cathedral was quarried there and taken in by, I don't know, slaves or peasants or whatever. It's one of the prettiest places in Orkney, I think. Where we are now is in the bay where Pirate Gow used to keep his ship. He was one of the last, I think he was the last actually, pirate of British nationality that ever existed, and he was hanged in Edinburgh. As you can see, it's very sheltered, and there's a beautiful little fjord almost that we're going through. The navigation's a bit tricky.
Yeah, I've been at sea now for 40 years, and I don't know it because I can't play golf, I can't play crochet, I can't do a damn thing. I've no hobbies because the ship is such an all-embracing sort of life. Always there is something to do with the ship. Cleaning, painting, changing oil and engines, you name it, you've always got something to do. And I have no hobbies, and it is a problem. Quite a serious problem.
Approaching Kirkwall, the capital of Orkney, the cook's problems are diminishing. A short stop over here gives her the opportunity to replenish her stores in the galley.
The shopping is usually done in a fairly frantic rush because I have to see to the meals here, tear up the town, try and persuade people it's all right in Kirkwall, but south it's a little more difficult to get things delivered to the ship. And get back in time either to catch a tide or to get the next meal. Garden peas.
Are they frozen?
Yes, please.
That's frozen.
Large frozen.
Yes.
Have you got a good Orkney cheese?
Yes, I have.
Oh, we'll be sailing at 5. You'll manage that this afternoon?
You're done between 4 and 5.
Good.
Right, you are.
Okay,
Fine.
see you then.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
We do hope to buy another ship quite soon. And I'll put my son in one. Well, I'll put my son in this old one, and I'll have a little honeymoon in the new one. And after that, I'll probably have to go ashore. Because Anno Domini and all the rest of it is catching up with me, and in any case, the 2 ships need a certain amount of management.
We'll get ourselves a houseboat.
But it's going to be a very hard wrench. I think my wife might leave me because she doesn't like me ashore.
What will I do when I come ashore? I won't cook. And if we do get a house ashore, I'm going to take the biggest room and I'm going to turn it into the bathroom. And I'm going to have an enormous sunk bath with a fireplace. Not in the bath, but on the carpet. Carpeted floor and a fireplace and several chairs. And an enormous, huge bathroom. Apart from that, I think I'll probably plan little trips back on the ship as often as I can. I have a lot more fun since I came on board than when I was living alone. And to think of it, Christmas in Antwerp, out to dinner with the agents, round nightclubs with the boys, up on the dance floors, out at the discos, spring, out walking in Ghent. I'll stay at sea as long as I can, as long as my husband's here.